Exponentially, there is a school of thought that imputes that within any cultural environment, as a culture evolves, new places, situations, and objects inevitably enter its language, whether or not the culture encounters different people. Further to the same, after a word enters a language, its meaning can change as through a shift in the valence of its connotations. This hybridization thesis finally argues that local cultures borrow and integrate elements from each other, creating syncretic or hybrid forms. This can be evidenced from daily life activities such as popular, religious, and music life. Holton 2000. Theoretically, culture and hybridization are two diverse concepts interacting, although the process by which a cultural element blends into another culture by modifying the element to fit cultural norms. These theoretical constructs, namely culture and hybridization, perform different functions. However, in this context, they have one thing in common. That is, metaphorically, global citizens are the conduits whereby culture and hybridization are expressed. Importantly, unlike cultural hybridization, which makes changes between two cultures and alters them so that they can adapt to the modern panorama, interculturality seeks to make the least amount of alterations among them. Cases in point: Creole languages, a new language developed from simplifying and blending different languages that come into contact within particular population at a specific point in time. There's also evidence which suggests that A. Louisiana Creole is a combination of African, French, and English languages. B. Global international restaurant chains are also modifying their menus to suit the tastes or mores of different cultures. There's also religious restriction in some Asian countries on eating beef. D. Martial arts films in the United States that adapt traditional Asian cultural elements to fit the tastes of the viewing public. E. Techno, a type of electronic dance music, began in Detroit in the 1980s and made its way around the world from German techno to Melbourne bounce. In this scholarly analytical discourse, Hofstede 1980 asserted that cultures and nations mostly function through essential structures such as the family, local groups, societies, and circumscribed traditions, etc. In effect, organizational structures and its functioning are impacted by unique cultural traditions. The concept of a hybrid is interpreted differently in animal and plant breeding, where there is interest in the individual parentage. In genetics, attention is focused on the numbers of chromosomes. In taxonomy, a key question is how closely related the parent species are. Human impact on the environment has resulted in an increase in the interbreeding between regional species, and the proliferation of introduced species worldwide has also resulted in an increase in hybridization. Population hybrids result from the crossing of plants or animals in one population with those of another population. These include interspecific hybrids or crosses between different breeds. In horticulture, the term stable hybrid is used to describe an annual plant that, if grown and bred in a small monoculture free of external pollen, for example, an air-filtered greenhouse, produces offspring that are true to type with respect to a phenotype, that is, a true breeding organism. Historically, in the 1800s, that language historians began to use the term Old English to refer to the assortment of languages used in Britain before the Norman conquest. The obvious advantage of Old English over, say, Anglo-Saxon is that it clearly suggests that what is spoken now and what was spoken well over 1,000 years ago is fundamentally one and the same language. Importantly, unlike cultural hybridization, which make changes between two cultures and alters them so that they can adapt to the modern panorama, interculturality seeks to make the least amount of alterations among them. Much work is now being done with hybrids between crops and their wild relatives to improve disease resistance or climate resilience for both agricultural and horticultural crops. Of note, it is reported that language hybridization is a resultant process of frequent code mixing. Sometimes even the grammar or structure of one language is applied to the vocabulary of another. So when two or more languages are frequently mixed, resultantly a new hybrid variety of language takes birth. Importantly, unlike cultural hybridization, which make changes between two cultures and alters them so that they can adapt to the modern panorama, interculturality seeks to make the least amount all alterations among them. Overall, although these theoretical constructs, namely culture and hybridization, perform different functions, however, in this context, they have one thing in common. That is, metaphorically, global citizens are the conduits whereby a novel "What About Hybridization and Culture? Are They Inextricably Linked?" was framed and expressed in 11 chapters and ISBN 978 976 9650640.